Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and I hope my lights are not making me look orange. I don't want to look like Donald Trump, but if so, I'll fix it during editing, I guess. Anyway, so my name is Kevin, and today we are going to talk about a big language learning topic, which is language learning apps. Are they the best way to become fluent, or are they just a waste of time? In this video, we'll go through the pros and cons of using language learning apps in 2024, and if you decide to use them, then you'll know what you're getting yourself into. So the first pros I listed is accessibility and convenience. One of the biggest advantages of language learning apps is their accessibility and convenience. For example, you can practice vocabulary or grammar while waiting for the bus, or listen to a podcast while, I don't know, doing the cleaning, cooking, exercising, whatever. And this flexibility makes it easier to fit in language learning practice into a busy schedule. Or if you're not a particularly busy person, they're still great for those days when you don't have that much time for, whatever reason. You can take your phone, open an app, and do a quick 15 minutes of practice on the go. Then there's cost effectiveness. Many language learning apps offer either free versions of their apps or affordable premium subscriptions. For example, apps like Drops or Memrise provide a lot of free content, while their premium versions do cost money, but they are still cheaper than traditional language lessons or a one-to-one with a tutor. Of course, there are way more apps out there than Drops and Memrise, and they do vary in terms of what they offer. Next point is gamification and motivation. Language learning apps typically incorporate gamification features to keep learners engaged and motivated. These features are meant to make the experience more enjoyable and interactive. By earning points, leveling up, maintaining streaks, you are regularly rewarded for your progress, which makes the process feel like a game. This element of competition and achievement can be highly motivating and encourages you to return to the app regularly and stay consistent with your practice. The next pro I wanted to tackle is variety of resources. Language learning apps come in different flavors, if you will. For example, some offer you the option to watch videos featuring native speakers to improve pronunciation. Others include several games and fill-in-the-blanks tasks to help you reinforce vocabulary and grammar in an engaging way. There are also quizzes and tests to assess your understanding and provide instant feedback. Finally, some apps are podcast-based, which is great for enhancing your listening skills. With all these different formats, language learning apps offer a pretty comprehensive approach to mastering a new language, I would say. Or in theory, because now we're going to talk about the cons. So number one, and that's the biggest one in my opinion, it's the lack of speaking practice. One major drawback for me, it's the virtually non-existent opportunities for real-life conversation in language learning apps. While apps can help a lot with vocabulary or grammar, they can't yet replace the experience of speaking to a native speaker, which is crucial, I think, for developing your fluency. There are language learning companies which are based around delivering live lessons, but they're not really language apps, so we're not talking about them in this video. The next point I wanted to cover is the overemphasis on gamification. So I did say that was a good thing in the first part, but there is kind of a limitation, let's say. Although gamification can be really motivating, it can sometimes overshadow actual learning. Earning points and rewards can become the main focus of your experience with a language learning app to the detriment of actually learning the language. So it kind of shifts the focus. Personally, I often find that games in language apps become boring real quick. There's so many times you can match up or pair up things together until it makes you just want to give up the whole thing. And this is quite counterproductive because these apps are marketed as being fun and engaging, but their format or system gets old pretty quickly. Number three, and that's also a big point for me, is the one-size-fits-all approach. While language learning apps offer a nice range of content, they often lack the flexibility to adapt to your individual needs. For example, I learn better if I can get instant feedback with a tutor, for example, or if the content is adapted to my needs, depending on what I want to learn and not learn. I remember with an online tutor for Japanese, I didn't want to do the very formal language yet because it was just not relevant for me at the moment. It will be later, of course, but it wasn't relevant for me at the time. So I just said that to the tutor and they adapted the lessons accordingly. Sadly, that's not really possible for language learning apps at the moment. Language learning apps are typically standardized and you either enjoy the format or the course content or you don't. Finally, the last point, and I know I've said that many times in this video, but it's also a big one, it's the limited cultural context. In my experience, language learning apps often lack depth in teaching cultural nuances and real-life language use. Understanding idioms, slang, and cultural references requires immersion usually, which apps alone, as far as I know, can't replicate. But even if we leave immersion aside, apps rarely make an attempt at teaching you culture. The only exception to that rule, to my knowledge, is Mango Languages, which did try to teach culture when I reviewed it a few years back on my channel. I'm sure there's a couple more examples of language learning apps that do that, but it's not common enough in my opinion. So, let's conclude and recap on all the points we've covered in this video. We've seen that language learning apps are convenient, cost-effective and engaging, but we've also seen that they have quite a few limitations like lack of speaking practice and lack of teaching culture. I don't know how to phrase that better. I'm going to be honest, I don't personally use apps that much. I do sometimes, but not that much. But if I were to use them, I'd make sure that I do something else on top of that. So alongside using language learning apps, I would do maybe reading regularly, watching lots of content, or listening, of course, having a one-to-one tutor or attending a language course, for example. But basically do something on top of it because I don't think language learning apps are enough, and I've always said that on my channel. I'm sorry, but I still haven't changed my mind on the fact that language learning apps alone can't make you fluent. What about you? Do you like language learning apps? Do you use them? Do you not use them? Do you find them enjoyable? Boring? What do you think, essentially? Let's have a little conversation in the comment section below. And if you found this video helpful, as usual, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. And if you are already subscribed, I love you. If not, you are dead to me. Alright, I will see you later. Bye bye.